further ado, you can go ahead and get started.
Great. Chris, did you want to kick it off, or do you want me to just kind of jump in?
Yeah, no, I'll just kick it off real quick. So again, Ryan, thanks for setting this up. We're very excited to have the opportunity to talk to you guys about, how we're approaching the gaming and esports landscape, how we get brands involved and our strategies that go into driving that meaningful conversation for our partners. And I'm sure some of you might be aware, but, we've worked together on Hershey's for a few years. We're currently live with Neutrogena. So, what we'd love to get out of this conversation here is to use it as a springboard towards partnering with, other brands that you all are working on, whether they're dipping their toes or looking to, expand what you're doing in the game and esports landscape. So I'm going to hand it over to Sarah. She's going to run you through, what it is we're doing, what we're up to, and why you should pay attention.
Okay, great. And can everyone see my screen okay? You guys see it? Okay, great. I just want to stop here. So this, as we had been talking before, we've completely rebranded the Ader brand itself. For us, gaming is of course, something that we do for work, but a lot of us, it's a passion. And I think that's really important when we talk about being authentic, right? We hear this buzzword all the time, authentic, organic. I'm sure you guys are sick of it. But when it comes to gaming and gamers, it really is true. These are like some of the most intense players. And I say that in like the utmost respect. They really want to work with brands that they're passionate about. So it's really fun for us to get to talk to you guys and kind of see what's kind of happening within the brand space. And so just looking at even just our first page, for a lot of people, this is just the first page of a presentation. But for us, we really took the time to think about, what does Ader gaming mean to the gaming community? And so we thought about the idea of like gaming is such a nostalgic sort of platform in a way, and it's become obviously like the biggest thing in the world. And so we really wanted our first page of our presentation to really represent that. So you can see sort of those old school TVs, but in the TVs, not only do we have a Pac-Man, but we also have some of the biggest talent that we represent. Of course, you see the champions, so like the scope of how big a tournament in the gaming space can be, but really just allowing you guys to sort of see what we represent when it comes to gaming. So I just wanted to kind of start with that, and then I'll jump right into, who is Ader, and sort of at the base of who we are in terms of our foundation. We really are gaming and talent. So there's two separate parts of our business. Obviously, you guys know the Ader gaming side. So that's more of our marketing agency. So working with, of course, the UMs of the world, different brands directly. And then most importantly, or not most importantly, but of course, having those relationships with the publisher side of the business, which really helps us work with you guys about really understanding what sort of the gaming landscape looks like. And then on the other side of our business, we have Ader Talent. So this is our talent management group. So we represent a very exclusive roster of talent in the gaming space. That's not to say that, and I'm sure Ryan knows this, we are talent agnostic. So that's kind of the special thing about Ader. We do work with an exclusive list. So we, have that talent sort of in-house. But on the brand side, we're able to work with the CAAs, the UTAs of the world, these other agencies working with gamers, because our thing is we want to make sure that the talent is right for the client. So, of course, we want to make sure that our talent is, getting those deals. But at the same time, Neutrogena, for example, we worked with talent outside of our Ader house. So that's a really important thing for you guys to know. And then at the end of the day, like I mentioned, Ader is influencer led. That's really what we breathe in this space. And so we want to make sure that everything that we're doing and touching is culturally relevant. The most important thing, especially now, is being able to be multi-platform, right? So we're not just Twitch focused. We are able to activate across platforms, whether it's YouTube, social media, etc. Making sure everything's brand safe. That's a really important thing for us, as I'm sure it is for you guys. And then the most important thing is engagement driven, right? So we want to make sure that with your clients that they're seeing us meet our KPIs and that ROI is there, and we're not just doing this to do it. Everything has a purpose. Our messaging is storied as our story, right? And so what does that mean? Kind of everything I sort of teed up there is we want to make sure that everything that we're putting in front of you guys and putting in front of your clients there's a story there, right? Narrative is so important when we're kind of creating these activations, whether it's experiential or it's online, whatever it might be. We want to make sure that there's a purpose and that the brand really truly feels like this isn't a one-off opportunity, that they really feel like they can partner with the gaming community in a big way. And so we want to make sure that our programs, once again, that word, they authentically reach and engage not just the target audience, right, but also able to expand the audience, whether that's throughout the different genres of gamers or whatever it might be. We want to make sure that you guys and your brands feel that we are architecting a story that's influencer led and of course really has the brand sort of at the center of everything. And this is just some numbers for you guys to see. So in terms of our experience, we've activated over 800 campaigns on Twitch, and that number, as you can imagine, is constantly growing, as well as work direct with over 75 brand clients. And this is on the non-publisher side of things. And then in terms of our audience reach and engagement, just to give you guys an idea of sort of the metrics that we're seeing. So we've activated over 850 million social impressions and engagements. And once again, that number is always rising. 215 million hours viewed on Twitch, once again, always rising. And then our biggest one is 1 billion views driven from our YouTube campaigns. And that's really important for us because these are big numbers. And so we want to continue to grow our business, of course, the same way I think all of your brand clients do as well. But the numbers really speak for themselves. And so, I kind of mentioned before that Ader is separate, has two sides of the business. And so wanted to kind of break that down a little bit further, just so you guys can get sort of an idea. So what we call our Ader network. So this is having relationships with those gamers that we don't necessarily represent in-house, but are able to contract out, whether it be for any of your clients. So we have relationships with over 1,800 of like the biggest, smallest, micro, macro, you name it. It's really important too. We're not just working with the biggest talent in the world. With some of these brands, they want to work with more micro influencers or the more up and coming influencers. And what's great about our talent team and our marketing team is that these are real gamers who are on Twitch, on YouTube gaming, like they're watching what's going on and seeing who's kind of the up and coming gamers. So we're constantly looking at who's about to break or who's breaking right now. So we're able to introduce you guys to sort of like the new people that are kind of in the spotlight. So we want to make sure that you really are getting sort of that multi-dimensional, multi-platform, like we talked about, rising stars of the gaming space. That's really important to us. And then once again, like I mentioned, our exclusive talent. So this is that exclusive representation that you can't get anywhere else. And we have a really diverse set of gaming influencers. That's another thing that's really important for us. And diversity kind of can mean a lot of things. Especially when it comes to the different genres and the platforms that these gamers are on. It's really important, especially for brands. Brands don't want to just see everyone on Twitch or everyone on one platform. For us, when it comes to a really well-rounded campaign, we want to make sure that we're putting forth different content opportunities for your clients. And then the last part, which is a very special thing, and not sure how much of you guys know about Energy, but Energy is one of the biggest esports organizations and also is the home to multiple world championship teams. We have a very, very special relationship with them and a very great connection with them in terms of what we're able to do on the business side. We bring this up because there's a lot of opportunities, especially when it comes to the Energy teams and players, and even on their O&Os, their socials, any sort of like the gaming communities that they're a part of. And what this means for your brands is sponsorship opportunities, branded integrations, content development. They actually have, I think it's like I'm probably exaggerating, a 10,000 square foot space downtown that's called the Content Castle, where it's different brands are able to integrate. You can film all this crazy content. We actually got to visit it. It's amazing. But there's a really interesting opportunity for small, medium-sized, and big brands to kind of get in the Energy space and work with them. And I know, Chris, if you want to talk to a little bit about the thing you just worked on with them.
Yeah, so just to kind of elaborate on the relationship with Energy, so we have a great relationship with Epic Games, and with Energy's help, coming up in September, we're going to be hosting what we think is going to be the biggest thing in gaming this year, and it's called the Energy Triathlon featuring Fortnite. And essentially what this is, we'll be taking over Fortnite for an 11-day period where we're anticipating roughly 20 million unique participants to this competition that we're creating. And there's an opportunity for one brand to really own this experience. So essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna build 3 custom maps within Fortnite. That's gonna be a part of this global competition that kind of focuses on the 3 main components of Fortnite. So if you're familiar with Fortnite, it's about building, it's about, getting around the map. So like a speed run, and then there's an aim challenge. So there's gonna be 3 custom maps that are an aim challenge, a speed run, and a build challenge. And from those maps, whoever has the highest scores across the 3 disciplines, the top 10, are going to be moving on to the grand finals. And the grand finals will basically be, it's going to be live on the Twitch homepage. A brand is going to get cross-platform, content ownership across all of Energy's, accounts and brands, whether it be Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, you name it. Like Sarah mentioned, we're going to be hosting the grand finals at the Energy Content Castle. So it's really going to be a huge spectacle. And it's these sort of like unique opportunities that we are uniquely positioned to bring to brands to get them involved. So if any of your brands would love to, hear more about the Energy, triathlon, please let me know. We can offline and set up a separate conversation. But it's going to be a huge thing coming up. So, let me know.
Cool. Okay. Got a little break from speaking, so thank you, Chris.
And with that, are there any questions so far?
No
I
questions.
think we're going to try to
yet,
hold them
but,
till the
okay.
end. Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay, so just going right into it, really breaking down sort of the Ader gaming solutions and services, which we've separated here. I won't read through them all because I think you guys kind of know, but we do everything sort of A to Z, whether it's influencer marketing, like Chris mentioned, sort of that experiential driven activation, whether it's a custom tournament, which we've done quite a few of with Activision and EA, some of the bigger publishers. Experiences, as we know, like things are getting back, hopefully, into real life. So we're very excited about that. And then on the services side of thing, production, right? So content, editing, things like that, creating any sort of campaign assets, which we've done, I know with the team recently with Neutrogena, which I think everyone was very excited about. And then any sort of creative development. So we really pride ourselves on being sort of that one-stop shop for everything that your brands need. This is just a snapshot. And once again, you can imagine that this is just a small sort of snapshot of the brands that we've worked with in the past. Of course, Hershey's, which we got to work on with you guys. We haven't been able to add Neutrogena yet, but just wanted to give you sort of like an idea of who we worked with from the publisher side of things to the business side of things, the brand side of things. We've really been able to scale our business. And really be able to also activate different audiences across these different sides of the business, whether it is the Activisions or the LGs, the Segas, things like that. We're constantly really challenging ourselves for sort of what we can do next. We left this case study in here. Obviously, you guys are familiar with Hershey's. We worked on it with you guys. And, we really wanted to leave this in here, not necessarily to go over what we did because you guys know. It was more of, we've worked with before. You guys are you've been a great partner to us. We're really excited about what we've been able to do in the past, what we're obviously currently doing with Neutrogena. And then hopefully now getting to meet everyone is, how do we sort of look to the future of like how Ader and can continue to work together in this space that, as I'm sure you guys see, is constantly evolving and there's just so much opportunity there. So we're really excited about this and how, we're really taking this hopefully to the next level. And then the last thing is on that point, what can Ader do for and your clients, which we've already done, and what can we continue to do together, hopefully. And like Chris mentioned, Ader's in a really unique position to position your brands uniquely, right? So really leveraging whether it's professional or the social or casual trends of the space, just from like the mere research or just because we're all players ourselves. So how are we creating innovation in the space? That's something that we've really tried to once again challenge ourselves on is, looking at what other brands are doing, look at what other agencies are doing, and not necessarily comparing ourselves to them, but it's like, okay, they did this. How can we do this differently, right? We're always trying to make it like, what's like the next round of a tournament or things like that. And, we wanted to also identify, just so you guys could see, is that's another thing that we constantly are doing is, what are the marketing trends that we're seeing that are working? And so we've identified some of the top ones. Tournaments, digital obviously were huge during COVID, and now we're hopefully going to get back into more of those in-person ones. Original content and live streaming, that's a no-brainer. That's always going to be big. Once again, like I mentioned, the in-person events, and then experiential activations, or what's the next step when it comes to experiential? How can we take, bring these games to life? Or how do we take these players and insert them, integrate them into the brand sort of product story? There's so many things that we're able to do now, and we're really excited about that opportunity. And on the right side, this is just kind of, once again, a little bit of bragging in terms of like why, we know what we're talking about, right? So we're the first agency of its kind. We have over 6 years rooted in the Twitch space itself, and then even across media and social channels in terms of activations that we've done. As we mentioned to you guys, that unique partnership with our sister company, who is Energy, really being able to utilize them in a very, very big way and hopefully get bigger as years to come. And with that comes access to those esports teams that are part of the Energy network. And then the unparalleled access to niche influencers, right? Like I mentioned, we have access from everyone to the micro to the macro players, and really being able to utilize us for that discovery process is really important. Unprecedented intelligence experience with publishers, the technology of the space. We are players, so we know sort of inherently what's going on and what's to come. And then the last thing is original innovative solutions. So we're always looking to expand our tournament frameworks in terms of, what does the format look like? Or in terms of multi-platform, how are we activating on TikTok now that that's, one of the biggest platforms? How do we integrate that into sort of our gaming portfolio? So we're constantly pushing the limits, really wanting to take brands, as we always say, to the next level. That's always our thing, right, in terms of gaming. And so, that's just, once again, a snapshot of what we're able to do. But that is the end of our deck. Here's a little thank you card. But yeah, now I'll stop. And Ryan and Renard, I don't know if you guys want me to ask for questions, if you want to handle, but that is all we have.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So we're going to start the little Q&A session now. I can start off with a question, but everyone else feel free to either hop on live to ask, or you can just write it down in the chat as well, and then we can announce it. But just to sort of start things off, I have one question here, just for any brands that are just new to the space, or interested in getting their feet wet in the gaming industries. What are some offerings that you would recommend to them?
Chris, or do you want me to answer? Or do you want to jump in?
No, I mean, really what we like to do is we want to take in what their targets are, what their objectives are, and what the audience that they're looking to hit really is, and then craft the strategy accordingly, right? Because, each brand has its own certain audience. Each game has its own certain audience, because like a Call of Duty audience is completely different from a League of Legends audience. So, first of all, we want to take into account, what it is the brand is looking to achieve, the audience are looking to achieve. And then from there, we work backwards and figure out, okay, what do we have within that specific game? Where are we also have to take into consideration levels of brand safety. Some brands are, adverse to certain titles, and some, are like, hey, we're open to anything. So understanding all that, we'll take a look at, the streamers that we can partner with, the ideas that we can develop around those creators, and, take into the targets and objectives that a brand has, and build out that strategy. Also marry in potential esports opportunities with NRG, or maybe they're looking to do something really big like the NRG, the Fortnite triathlon, for example, really leverage those bigger tentpole moments that we can create. So really it's a combination of always on strategy with streamers, integrating into their streams on a daily, weekly basis, and then finding these bigger pulses that we can marry them with around product launches, key dates, et cetera, you name it, to really, at the end of the day, we're all about driving conversation, right? So what are the mechanisms that we can pull on our end to drive that conversation?
I wanted to add to Chris's point. Hopefully you can all hear me well here. I think that it's really important, while we focus on authenticity, to also focus on coolness and starting the conversation by having cool experiences. The gaming community is in this really interesting spot where for the first time, we're the cool kids. A A lot of us were the gamers in our, mother's basement for a long time, but now we're finally in the limelight. And we really love as a community when brands do cool and interesting things. And that's a big driver of conversation. So it's not just about making sure that your brand is reaching an audience in an authentic way. It's also about doing something that's fun and new. That's one of the reasons we're so excited about the partnership we have going with Epic and NRG, because we think something like that really doesn't exist right now. And we think it's going to be a huge splash in the community.
Yeah, that's great. And that the whole energy triathlon thing, that's super exciting. So just sort of, sorry, I just have like a quick follow-up on that before I get to Danielle's question. But regarding the energy triathlon, do you have like any other tent poles like this? Do they come up often? I know this was like a special thing connected to energy, but is this something that any brands could see being offered to them, just easily many times throughout the year?
Yeah, we're constantly working on these types of opportunities, with our talent and with the publishers. So whether it's tournaments or custom opportunities, these are, if brands are interested in hearing more, we're certainly open to it. And we love to talk about it, but we're constantly working on these types of activations that are bigger and again, tentpole event beyond the day-to-day streaming activation. So we have a lot of things in the works right now. There's a few things coming up. I don't know if we have an NDA, but we can figure that out after the fact, because we have a few others that we can't share just yet, but we're getting close to.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really important to add too is that we're in this unique opportunity now with COVID coming to an end, where there's a lot of innovative opportunities outside of just the online sphere, but also in person as well. It's a great time for brands that are eager to enter the esports and gaming scene to think about going to conferences and events and doing really, really cool things at these conferences and events, because it's been a fairly quiet year and a half when it comes to in-person activations as well. So many brands interested. It's definitely kind of a custom, bespoke approach. We want to work with you guys to come up with something that's cool. But a lot of the thoughts and concepts, innovations that we're coming up with are in line with what we're doing with Epic right now. It's just that a lot of them we can't share at this moment.
I also think it's important to mention too, like in terms of like the temple events that already exist, and I think Chris kind of alluded to this, like we talked about a little bit in the presentation, is that we've also been able to create and build tournaments, for example, from the ground up. So I think that's an important thing too to point out, whereas there might not be a tentpole event yet, but it's something that if the brand is looking, to like, oh, I want to be part of a bigger tournament or whatever it might be, we obviously have the experience to build something new. That's obviously a little riskier, right? With a brand that maybe hasn't necessarily been in the gaming space, but there is also that opportunity to build something custom. Just want to make sure that that's something too to think about.
Yeah. So Danielle, to answer your question, I just saw it in the chat. So we are working on a few things.
But yeah. Go ahead.
No, yeah, we are working on those first to market opportunities for brands. Those are the few that we can share now, and we have a few coming up. So really, what is beneficial to us is to get an understanding on a brand by brand basis what are the key beats, where are those moments that they're looking to make a big impact or build out a program, and we can kind of customize it accordingly based on the things that we have in development.
And are you feeling like live events is really that white space where brands can break through right now with you guys, or is there anything else that's top of mind that you think we should be really mindful of when coming to you guys?
Live events are definitely very important, but I also think that what we're doing with Epic, these kind of in-game promotions are becoming more and more prevalent. We've seen companies like Riot, Epic, Activision all be much more interested in doing these types of promotions as well, and they're very unique. A lot of brands have started to dip their toes in that space, but the kind of activations that are available in that scene are really, really interesting and new to the ecosystem. And then in person, of course, the sky is literally the limit. So yeah, those would be our two focuses.
And to elaborate on the Epic thing, like they don't just let anybody like integrate into their game. So it's a very unique opportunity to be able to own their audience's attention for one day, let alone 11 days. So it's those kind of deeper publisher relationships that we have that we can really drive something truly special for any of your brands.
And then on the flip side, I think that like if you're looking at maybe something smaller to start, when it comes to like, especially with new brands that haven't necessarily entered the space, I wouldn't even discount, like looking at the talent that not necessarily we even represent, but just that we have relationships with. You know, there's a lot of brands looking to partner with gamers the same way they would partner with more of the mainstream influencers. So we're activating a lot of campaigns like that as well. So building out a content strategy the same way you would, you know, traditionally or more mainstream. And I say mainstream because, I mean, gaming is mainstream now, but just to kind of differentiate. But it's been really interesting to see sort of these brands that have never been in the space before look at gamers in a different way and utilize sort of their followers on how do we use a gamer, not necessarily even maybe on Twitch, like how do we use their Instagram or their YouTube or their TikTok? And so we've been building a lot of those plans as well.
So our value prop here is that better science and better art creates better outcomes. I'm curious as to how you guys pull each of those levers during the influencer selection process. What tools are you leveraging? How are you curating the experience on a brand by brand basis?
So when you're talking about like talent selection, or sorry, can you, you cut off? Okay.
Sorry, talent selection for brands, basically. How are you pulling like the different levers of like art and science and leveraging like both halves of that in order to like curate experiences for brands?
Justin, Oh, Justin, no, go ahead.
So one thing we're really passionate about here at Ader is really understanding the audiences that we work with and making sure that influencer selection goes deeper than, hey, this influencer is available. So we have a two-pronged approach. One is the data and science, and one is the relationship. On the data and science, we actually have a full team that's dedicated to pricing, which I've been working with for several years and actually innovated myself. And that team is pulling data from everywhere from like Stream Hatchet to services like Solinome to also just third-party and direct-party data that we get from YouTube and Twitch. Our goal there is really to find creators who are really, really doing well, not just audience-wise or viewership-wise, but in terms of retention and driving sales for brands. And because we do have a lot of publisher first-person data, we're actually able to see who is able to drive sales of a new game. And that's really, really interesting for brands that are looking to make sure that they're driving conversions. Then on the relationship side of things, we also think it's really important that these partners are actual advocates for the brand. And because we've been working and done over 1,000 influencer partnerships in the gaming space already, we actually know which creators are really passionate about a brand, which ones have a special story that makes them connected to a particular experience, maybe a product that changed their lives or something that they related to when they were a kid. And that will bring that interpersonal relationship. That means we can go further than just influencer. We can take cut downs of the content and use it for traditional media buys, where it performs much better than just a traditional advertisement as well.
Okay.
All right, thanks. So actually have another question. It's sort of I guess a follow-up to that. So, you know, knowing that you have these strong influencer relationships and also publisher relationships, what are your relationships like with, you know, the platforms such as Twitch or YouTube, Facebook? You know, how do you handle those relationships? So, you know, let's just say we have influencer A and, you know, they stream on Twitch and they have a lot of YouTube content. You know, how do you, I guess, how do you manage that? Like, how do you manage the content on Twitch and how do you manage the content on YouTube?
Yeah, we have really strong relationships with the creators since we manage a lot of them and are friends with many more, but also the platforms themselves. We've negotiated over 20 contracts with Twitch for our content creators. We have a great relationship with YouTube. We have a wonderful relationship with one of the devs at TikTok who helps if anyone gets banned or we have any issues with branded campaigns. So our relationships are both platform agnostic, but they're also talent focused as well. And that means that if we're ever in a situation where we need something to occur right away or managing a campaign, for instance, maybe you guys, you know, you have a little bit of a PR nightmare, you need someone to come in and make sure that we get some bots pulled down because the product gets recalled or something like that. We can go in and help facilitate that, get that done immediately for you, both on the talent side, but also on the platform side.
Yeah, and you know, when it comes to content, for example, we obviously use each platform differently, right? A live stream is more of a one-on-one conversation like we're having here. So there's a different approach to how we go about doing that and working the brand, our partners into that, you know, that conversation and that experience. And then, you know, obviously when it comes to YouTube, it's more polished, edited cut downs of those streams or highlights, etc. So we really go about approaching that from an asset standpoint in a completely different way, so that it's hitting the audience in the way that they're used to consuming it on that platform. And obviously the same thing goes for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. But you know, we take each platform as it is and figure out how do we best create the assets from, that works best on those platforms. And we spell it all out in all the programs that we develop for our partners, how we're going about utilizing each one, reach and scale across talent from all those platforms.
I'm curious to know, do you guys have access to your own YouTube inventory, and is it available for purchase programmatically?
Yeah, we do. So we have a partnership with a bunch of our creators so we can sell across their platform. And that's almost specific to the gaming scene. So if you guys are ever looking to purchase across a lot of the top content creators in gaming, we're one of your best partners for that. And that's really helpful too, because right now, as I'm sure you guys know, there's always some tension when it comes to running ads on YouTube. No one's really monitoring those channels and making sure that they're brand appropriate. We actually do that, and we're going to provide you content creators who are doing brand safe content that is going to convert very well. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. And also, we're not just here to answer questions about Ader. If you guys have questions about the gaming industry as a whole that you're curious about, we'd be happy or thrilled to answer those as well.
When it comes to the media inventory, we don't offer it necessarily programmatically, but essentially what we can do for you is say like, hey, like you're looking to run media on YouTube, right? So we have our own, what we call kind of like our gaming YouTube select, which allows you to, hand pick inventory and channels, pick, target audiences on the channel level, right? So if we're partnered with 10 of the biggest esports orgs in the world and over 100 different gamers and streamers. So essentially what that allows us to do is run your media on a channel level to hyper target specific audiences. If you want League of Legends, we can run 20 League of Legends channels. If you want Fortnite, we can hit 20 Fortnite channels for you and really segment out those audiences so that you know exactly where your media is running at all times, the channels they're running on, and the type of creator it is. So really, it adds an extra level of control and safety to your media buys while still hyper targeting the exact kind of like gaming audience that you want to hit. Because, I could start a YouTube channel and I can target gaming, but it could really just be me like walking my dog or playing foosball. And that's not really something you guys want to run your media against. And so this is going against Nick Merckx's channel or Benji Fishy's channel or FaZe Clan or NRG. So really, it's a unique opportunity to add a media component to your buys, along with the content, the integrations, the publisher stuff that we could also do.
Great, and then just a follow up to that as well, because I know it was brought up in the deck about brand safety, and then handling the media that you guys have on YouTube there. If you could expand just a little, not too much, because I'm pretty sure you could get into like a pretty deep dive on what you can do. But for brand safety, I guess just walk us through a little, what kind of steps do you take there? Because I mean, across all these platforms, there are obviously a lot of different ways to go about it. Twitch with the Twitch chat, and then YouTube with its platform, and then just plenty of others. So what kind of technology do you guys use, or what kind of steps do you use to vet?
Yeah, it's definitely a game where being preemptive is the most important, right? Because especially when it comes to live content, you can't always control the live experience. So what you have to do is be very proactive. And our job is to look at content creators and make sure that we're finding creators who are very brand safe, matching them up with a brand's level of comfort with brand safety, and then doing a lot of proactive work, whether that means going and moderating the chat, or usually mods in all the channels for any live content. That means that we can actually go in and remove comments if they're offensive. On top of that, coming up with huge lists of offensive terms that we're banning it proactively in advance to make sure that nothing is coming to light during that stream. For YouTube, it's obviously a lot easier because that content gets to be reviewed before it goes live, and we have strict procedures in place to ensure that that content is reviewed by both us and the agency, and usually the brand as well, to make sure that everyone's comfortable with what's being said. So it's usually a proactive game and something that we always have to be available for. Someone watches every single stream to make sure that we're always there to answer questions and make sure that the audience is getting the right messaging from the brand and the creator.
And not to be forgotten, the technology of the human element. So, it's working with, again, a guy like Joe Woe, for example. He's one of our big up and coming talent. And he's like a sweetheart. I love this guy. He's like a puppy dog. He plays Warzone. He's one of the best Warzone players in the world. He doesn't curse at all. He's the nicest, sweetest guy you could ever meet. And so that level of human curation also factors in on top of what it is that we're doing to make sure that we're keeping your brands away from streamers who have a propensity to go a certain direction that we just don't want. So, you know, human side of things, we also leverage. Joe Woe, remember that name, everybody. Joe Woe.
Duly noted. All right. So I mean, we're at time. So I guess if nobody has any super quick questions, then I think we could sort of wrap things up here. But yeah, no, amazing time here, guys. Thanks for bringing us through Ader, and thank you for answering all of our questions.
Of course.
Do you have, I guess, any parting words for our folks here at UM?
Yeah, gaming is a really exciting industry, but it also can be a pretty intimidating one. If you're not familiar with the gaming world, it can oftentimes feel like there's so many things to learn and so many different categories and subcategories of games. Our expertise isn't just in running these campaigns, it's also in walking you through what makes these games and these audiences fun and interesting to reach. I've been a gamer my whole life, and so is the rest of the team here, and we're always thrilled for the opportunity to help a brand enter the space. From our perspective, it's a long time coming, and we're really excited to see something that we love, which is gaming, finally enter the forefront of the mainstream.
And the last thing, and I'm sure Chris wants to say something too, but what I'll say is, to Justin's point, I think what's cool about Ader too is that we also have people from a more traditional marketing background, myself included. I came from working with the Samsungs of the world, and so I understand that side of the business as well. So I think marrying the two and really having that inside knowledge on the gaming space, but also sort of like how brands activate in a more traditional way. And now how do we kind of blend those together? There's definitely a few of us, Chris included as well. So, I think that that's another way that sort of sets us apart, and how we're able to sort of figure out, the more innovative things that we want to be working on, or, what's sort of like the next up and coming, and how do we, like I said, marry the two sort of worlds now together.
Yeah, and we want to be a resource. So please, feel free to ping us with questions. We want to be able to help, everybody navigate these waters, and, wherever there's interest, let us know. We love to put our heads together, think of strategies, and think of innovative ways that we can, bring things to life. So that's it for me, and just for Ryan, just for everybody to see. Just wanted to get that up there. One quick there. Here we go.
Right.
Well, we appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you guys for inviting us to be a part of this. We're really excited.
Thank you for taking the time to go through all this with us.
Of course.
Thanks,
Thank you.
All right. Thanks
Thanks,
so
everybody.
much.
Hey, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.